Mindy. I'm from My Time for Change, and today I'm with Emma of Emma Wilson Fitness and My Time for Change, and we, for the first time, come along with Karen of Wellbeing Wave. So we're really excited to talk with Karen today and find out more about a little bit more about what she does. Our topic today is about change. Obviously, a lot of us are experiencing continual change as we move through a lockdown period. Every time there's a new announcement, there's a form of change for us all. And what Emma and Karen wanted to talk about today is sort of how we maybe respond to initial sort of changes that happen and the moments of overwhelm. So if I hand over to yourself, Karen, first of all, so you can introduce yourself and who you are and what it is you do.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks, Mindy, and thanks, Emma, for having me. I'm really excited for this. Yeah, my name's Karen from Wellbeing Wave. I started my business early last year, although I've always had an interest in health and fitness and a holistic whole life approach to well-being. And a number of years ago, I experienced my own ill health through loss and bereavement. And for the first time really lost my resilience. I had a really successful career and I needed to be strong and on my game every day, and it was a number of events in which I just didn't have a chance to build my resilience, and I started to break down, anxiety, depression, really chronic post-traumatic stress. And I used this time to try and work out how to get well, what worked for me, retrained and really learned for me what the key to well-being was. And for me, it's those 4 pillars. It's how you nourish your body and what you put in it and on it, how you hydrate your body, how you move it, and finding out what works for you, and that's different for everybody. The power of your mindset. So I'm a personal development and transformational coach, and I really specialise in helping people find out who they are, and that's unique to them and what their passion and purpose is, and then helping them create drive and focus to go and do it, because I went through that process myself. And then finally, the practice of calming the mind down through meditation. So for me, powering the mind up and powering the mind down is equally important. And it's great to have enthusiasm, commitment and motivation in one of those areas, but for me, true whole being well-being comes when you do all of those things together. And so I put it together, created Wellbeing Wave, because I really struggled, especially in the northwest of England, to find somewhere where I could access well-being using all those pillars, but that was also really informative and fun and professional, and had a bit of a luxury edge, somewhere that I wanted to go to. So yeah, that's why I created it, and I'm really passionate now about sharing what I've learned with everybody throughout Cheshire, and then currently online as well, which is a great new experience.
Fantastic. And Emma, yeah, obviously we know a little bit before, but please sort of introduce yourself again. And so in terms of Emma Wilson Fitness and My Time for Change.
Yeah, Emma Wilson Fitness, or I've been doing that for the last 15 years, and My Time for Change has been going, not necessarily under the word My Time for Change, it's been going for the last 3. And the reason I started my business 15 years ago, probably very similar actually to Karen, which is probably why we kind of have a natural affinity, is I was also going through, or had gone through, my own journey of ill health, depression, anxiety. I had a very stressful job. I was happily married at the time. I was injured at the time too. I'd always had a huge interest in fitness and sport, and I was injured, and as a result of that, put on an awful lot of weight because I was angry, depressed, resentful, bitter, all of that. And so I had a moment where I just didn't feel like me anymore, and I wanted to get that back. And so to get that back, I knew I needed to follow where my passion was, and that wasn't in the job I had. That was definitely down a path of, it was helping myself to begin with, and then I realized I really enjoyed doing that, and again wanted to share it. So it started with, I guess, a bit of rehab in terms of body and movement. So that's probably why I understand when somebody can't do something, or they're restricted in doing something, and to take it slow, and you don't just go hell for leather. And I also know when something's been taken away from you. And then I suppose as you get older, a bit like Karen was saying, you can't do one without the other. You can't just get fit, you can't just lose weight, you can't just work on your mind. You have to work on all of it at some point, but it happens piecemeal. And so when I hit early 40s, my body was doing some more changing, and that's when the kind of nutrition and the mindset and working on that kind of came more to the fore. And then obviously, 5 years later, 6 years later, everything all fits together. But yes, looking at winding down the body, restorative stuff, big stuff, all sorts of stuff, and finding the people that can help keep, everybody is always looking to improve. We never finish. My philosophy is we're always a work in progress.
Brilliant, thank you. So both of you today have got 3 tips for our audience in terms of helping to work our way through overwhelm. I think, Karen, you said, you've got talking about how it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, I mean, as a transformation coach, I'm passionate about getting people from where they don't want to be to live in that best version of themselves. And that sounds like a cliche, but I think it's our right to find out what makes us unique, what lights us up and fills us with joy, and then bring that into your life every day. And whilst coaching and transformation work is very much solution focused, really initially when you're in that point of overwhelm, which many people are at the moment, well, can I do this? Well, can't we do this? And what's happening? And it'll change tomorrow. And that period of change and uncertainty can really bring a feeling of overwhelm. And so for me, although I want to get somebody to the other side of that, I think my first tip is be kind to yourself. It is okay in that moment not to be okay. Because sometimes being not okay can feel really uncomfortable, and when we're uncomfortable, we need to move away from it as quickly as possible. And as human beings, normally our quickest way to do that is in usually distraction or inappropriate behaviour. So drink, drugs, alcohol, food, anything so we don't have to feel. And so it sounds really easy, but get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that is not easy. Stopping and acknowledge it. Okay, I am in overwhelm in this moment. I'm in overwhelm. And before I would put on the coaching hat and say, so what's brought you to this moment, and how can we learn from that and get you to the other side? Practice just sitting in it and saying, right now I am not okay. And that's okay, because it takes the pressure off yourself. You can start to be kind to yourself, and it's not easy for many of us, but the more you practice that, I always say, how would you treat a friend in that moment? And start to slowly practice doing that with yourself. And certainly from my experience, put your hand up with somebody you trust and say, I'm having a hard time at the moment. Because when you're vulnerable, it's amazing the support and kindness that comes back. And if that's an area that you struggle on, I would encourage you to watch the Brené Brown TED Talk on vulnerability. It's a really, really empowered speech about vulnerability and what can happen when you sit in it. Say no. If you actually just need to stop and rest practice saying no, because it creates amazing space for things that you can actually say yes to, that are things that you actually want to do. So yeah, it's a tip, it's a challenging tip, but the more you practice it and just sitting in that moment of it's okay not to be okay, and being kind to yourself would be the first tip I would give us when you're right in the middle of that overwhelm.
Fantastic. And Emma, obviously that's at the core of a lot of what My Time for Change is about, but I know you have some breathing techniques in order to sort of potentially help with some of that overwhelm, and part of being kind to yourself is giving yourself that time to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that Karen has said there is it is at the core of My Time for Change. The things that I talk about, people come to me, and of course when they come to someone in the health and fitness world, they normally say, I want to lose weight, but they also want to feel better. And then when you start finding out more about people and the things that have gone on in their life, there's normally a reason why they've got to the place where they're already at. And because we're in a group, it's a private group, it's safe, I often find people kind of tell me things that perhaps they're not able to tell other people, or they've not acknowledged to them, to other people around them. They use me, I guess, and the group as a way to say I'm not okay at the moment, and then they're looking for how can I help, because they've normally already gone down the path of a bit of self-sabotage and not being kind, so they've eaten too much, drunken too much, and they can't get out, but they know they want to. But when people are going through that initial kind of overwhelm and panic, and they just need that moment to take stock, because most of the people that I come across, and I'm sure you're the same, Karen, are busy people with a lot on their plate, a lot to juggle. And when we feel overwhelmed, we have this, our stressor hormones, our adrenaline, our cortisol, our heart rate, everything is increased, and everything therefore the breathing, we're not getting as much oxygen to the brain. So just for that moment, all the things that Karen said about, acknowledging that you're not okay, being in the moment, but being in that moment might feel really uncomfortable. So breathing and getting everything a bit calmer may just help you. And it's a distraction as well. Focusing on your breathing is a distraction. It's all the things that Karen said. So taking deep breaths, when you place your hand over your chest and over your belly when you breathe, most people are breathing from the chest, and we want to be breathing from the rib cage and from the lungs. But one way to just quickly do that is to count. And so there are different methods. You can count a breath in through your nose. Most people don't also breathe in through the nose. They breathe through the mouth. It's really shallow, and not everything is working as it should. So just initially taking that breath in through the nose for a count of 3, holding it for 4, and breathing out for 5, and just repeating that, breathing in for 3, holding for 4, and breathing out for 5, and doing that a few times will just allow your central nervous system, those stressor hormones, your heart rate, your blood pressure, everything to just be a bit calmer. So you may be able to just take stock for a second and feel calmer straight away.
Or even listening to that, then I can feel the whole, you talking through it, even though I'm not doing it, my breathing slowed and I felt calmer. Karen, you have a loving kindness meditation to demonstrate to us, as well as another technique to managing that overwhelm. Is that right?
Yeah, and again, it would always start with coming into the moment, with noticing that breath, and almost just having gratitude of that breath, because today there will be some people that don't have that privilege. We take it for granted that it's pumping in and out, but that's what's keeping us alive, and just having that moment of gratitude. God, yeah, I've actually got breath. Most of the time we don't even notice it. But yeah, there's a really, really good technique when you are, if you've got to that stage where you're almost, like Emma said, in panic and overwhelm. It's literally everything shuts down and everything becomes very narrow. Your peripheral vision comes in, you are in that complete overwhelm mode. So there's a technique that was it was instigated by the Heart Math Institute, and the American military use this technique for when they are in emergency overwhelm, and it's a loving kindness technique, and it literally brings all the senses very quickly right into the moment. And the purpose of it is to take you from the external right in and just bring it down, and it can help with that emergency overwhelm panic moment. So we can do it now if you want. That might be the quickest way to demonstrate it. So a bit like Emma said, we would normally just take initially, just close your eyes and just start to take some nice deep breaths, and just starting to notice the breath. And then just place one hand, doesn't matter which hand, and just place it in the center of your chest, across your heart. And bring that awareness now to the space between the chest, right in the heart. And now focus your breath right into the heart center. And recall a moment in time now in which you felt love, peace, and joy. It can be a person, a moment in time, an achievement. And just recall that special moment now. And as you're recalling that moment, really see what you saw in that moment. Really remember what you felt, that love and peace and joy, and really bring it in now. Take yourself back there, really see what you saw, feel what you felt, hear what you heard. Really, really take yourself back to that moment. And dropping your hand on your chest and taking a deep breath, releasing that hand, and slowly open your eyes. So it's a really quick technique. If you're in overwhelm, it's literally hand on heart, really get into a specific moment that takes you to the exact opposite, something that gives you joy, peace, love, makes you feel the opposite, and it just brings it in and takes you out of overwhelm. And yet the American military use that. It's called the loving kindness meditation, and you can look it up on the Heart Math Institute. Their philosophy is that heart and its rhythm and pace is a physical indicator of our emotions and our mental health. So they use that to bring in and manage overwhelm. So yeah, that would be my other tip if you're really in that panic moment.
That's amazing. I wanted to stay there. I liked where I was.
It's the solar plexus that's there, isn't it, where we carry all our emotions, which is when people feel sad or anxious, they say it's like a heavy weight bearing down, and it's about lightening that load, isn't it? And
giving a focus right into the heart of the breath. But you say, Mindy, I want you to stay in there. You can do at any point in the day. I mean, we did a minute and a half, but literally if you are feeling that rise in heart rate, that quickening of the pulse, your mental clarity starting to unravel, and it will start, the more you do it, it starts to become a trigger. So the minute you put your hand on your heart, it will already trigger that moment the more you practice it. So yeah, you can take yourself there and do whenever you need it.
Oh God. No, that's brilliant. Thank you for that. And I did enjoy that minute and a half. So Emma, I think finally the last tip that you wanted to talk about today, as well as the importance of movement in order to help with sort of managing change and the overwhelm of that change.
Yeah, I think Karen did actually touch on it. It's about movement. When people come to me, they automatically think movement is exercise, and I break movement down into movement, activity, exercise, and training. So, I don't really come across many people in my world that are in training. I've got maybe a couple of people that are, like to do a couple of triathletes, but I've got no one that's an athlete as such. Most of us exercise, definitely activity, but you've got a whole group of people that perhaps are not really moving. And it's about finding something that you enjoy so that it doesn't become a chore, and that you don't stop using certain parts of your body just because, well, that hurts or that wasn't working well, so I can't do anything. So when we move, the minute that we stand up, we release a chemical in the brain that's like it's like a fertilizer. It's like a super crop. It's like digging into the pharmacy of your brain, and it kind of sprays all the neurons in the cells of your brain, that stops them dying off, that stops them being sluggish, that allows you to then feel that you could do something else, that gives you extra oxygen in there. But also it's this very big, deep, meaningful name that's not really important, but it's the process of standing up and sitting down. So just standing up and sitting down moves body parts that get tight, that stop that flow of energy, that stop that flow of oxygen, that stop all your pathways. Again, things that we take for granted. We just assume that we've got all these vessels and capillaries and the veins and arteries, and they're all hunky-dory. Well, if we don't, the whole expression of use it or lose it, it's true. But our brain is in that too, our heart is in that too, our lungs are in that too, but all those little pathways to get oxygen to the brain, to get those endorphins, to get serotonin, to get all of that around your body free flowing so that there are no blockages anywhere, is really important. And the way that our body, because of the way that we live, in terms of, we don't even have to get up to change the channel anymore. Back in the day, they had to get up to keep changing the channel. Don't have to do that anymore. Don't have to, or don't even to wind the window. Nobody's doing an arm movement in the car, winding down the window. There's nothing. And when we're in this period of change where everybody's gone, well, I've got no time and I don't know what to do and I can't get out, there's so much you can do. But we are rounded shoulders, our physiological shape, our neck, our spine, everything, and our spinal cord that runs right through our spine is right up into the skull, into the brain. And so our mind, our gut, our body, everything is connected. It's too hardwired to try and say, well, I'll go for my walk and I'll feel better in my body. That's my movement for the day. It's about finding other things then that, well, when you walk, you've actually probably not turned, you've probably not actually mobilized your spine, not even your shoulders, you're in that one plane, and just coming out of holding the stress, getting that flow of oxygen, and I know, and we're all guilty of it, but it doesn't happen by itself. And so it's finding things that you enjoy that kind of give you the best, that make you feel the best version. And I use it, cliched as it might sound, I use it all the time. Who doesn't want to feel their best self? Who doesn't want to have their best decade? You can still keep aiming. We should never just, people ask me, when are you going to stop, jumping around, and what age? There is no, I might slow down a bit, I might adapt a little bit, but you don't stop. But no, movement is important. And as I say, if your legs are sore, then you've still got your arms, and if your arms are sore, then you've still got your arms, and we can still work. But it's not about blood, sweat and tears all the time. It's about restorative exercise, allowing those muscles to relax, to repair, so that because again, we take them for granted. We have to allow them that rest and recovery, but equally they don't stay there forever. The minute that we hit over, I want to say 40, but it's 30 really, we're losing our our muscle mass and our metabolism slowing down. So the last thing I want to do is lose what you've got.
Brilliant. Well, you're both very fabulous. Everybody's very lucky to have access to you both. Karen, you're from Wellbeing Wave, and your website is wellbeingwave.com, and you have Facebook and Instagram where you have some beautiful live and lovely other content in terms of, I heard some gong last night on there, and it was stunning. And your page is Wellbeing Wave UK for Facebook and Instagram. And Emma, obviously everybody's very lucky in terms of My Time for Change and Emma Wilson Fitness. So there's emmawilsonfitness.co.uk, which everyone can book the fabulous classes that continued online during this period, your normal timetable. And you have Emma Wilson Fitness 1 on Instagram and Emma Wilson Fitness on Facebook. And then, of course, there's My Time for Change, which has become our small collaboration as of January, obviously continuing what you've been doing for the last 3 years in that, and that's mytimeforchange.co.uk, and then My Time for Change 2020 on Instagram and Facebook.
They're all interlinked though, so if you go on My Time for Change, you'll find Emma Wilson Fitness and back the other way. And going back to the movement, I've got some 10-minute, well, not being 10-minute, they're 5, 6, 7, they're free sessions every day at 8 o'clock, or you can watch them whenever you want. I've just started those, so there's movement for everybody to squeeze into our days. I know we've all talked about the fact that we thought we'd have all this new time in lockdown, and actually we've got less.
and because you're both so generous, you're giving free content every day, and Karen's got free content as well to give away.
Yeah, every Monday night, 8 o'clock, I do a free guided meditation on Zoom. So just go to Instagram and Facebook and book on there, or go to wellbeingwave.com. And if you're interested in mindset and meditation, I do a really low cost, I call it a power up the mind, power down the mind hour every Wednesday at 7. And I put a mindset masterclass online as well. And I've just done it at the moment all for really low cost, because I want to try and make it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible at the time they need it. So yeah, it's great, and it's great to connect with you both as well. It's lovely when you gather your tribe and you have like-minded interests, and we've all got this philosophy to share what we know and help others. I think it's great, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's I'm looking forward to meeting you for real. and I'll definitely be there's so much overlap for us. It makes perfect sense that we
Yeah, I think with My Time for Change, because we have courses running every month, and I think that obviously what you have to offer on top of what Emma has to offer, I think it's great. It is about the whole being, and about being a woman over 35 who's perimenopausal, spanning the whole range, having the opportunity to look at all the pillars and consider the brain, your emotions as well, all intertwined with how you're eating and exercising or moving, etc. It's exciting. Thank you very much.